from the ground all throughout the show tonight. First, we do have breaking right now. We do have new information surrounding the deep state tonight that we want to share with you. We'll keep up pictures of the storm as it continues to go on. But we are now on day 4 of more damning revelations, new developments surrounding Lisa Page and Peter Strzok. Tonight, we have 2 news stories to bring you. The first, according to FoxNews.com, we have new texts that are showing that Lisa Page may have once actually interned under former President Clinton. On January 19, 2017, she texted her then boyfriend, Peter Strzok, quote, "Needless to say, it was very different when I interned there under Clinton." And of course, after all the previously unearthed anti-Trump, pro-Clinton text messages, should we really be surprised? This is just the cherry on top of a long record of what we now know is political bias at the highest levels of the FBI, the DOJ. Also, we see Director of National Intelligence and the CIA, as we told you last night. Our second news story tonight surrounding Page and Strzok may reveal potential serious wrongdoings again within the top ranks of the FBI. Tonight, Judicial Watch just received dozens of previously unseen documents from the DOJ, including email exchanges between the general counsel. Remember, he left a while back. James Baker, deputy director. Andrew McCabe, a grand jury has now been convened looking into him. Strzok, Page, and others. Now, this newly found email chain referenced a sensitive data exchange program with European intel agencies. It was sent over an unsecured device email account. Page even references writing in all caps and bleep, given everything going on. Why is redacted using a Yahoo account for this? Actually, apparently a Yahoo account from Redacted's iPad. Make him stop. Now, given all these developments all throughout the week, this is 4 nights in a row surrounding the rampant political leaking and bias and abuse of power, mishandling of sensitive information, we should all demand a lot more. Finally, from the highest-ranking government officials, those responsible for this deep state bureaucratic corruption need to be held accountable in a court of law. We also know this goes right into Robert Mueller's office vis-a-vis the relationship with Bruce Orr, Christopher Steele, Andrew Weissmann. And, of course, Christopher Steele doesn't stand by his own dossier, but that didn't stop him from trying to feed information, funnel it through Orr to the special counsel's office, and he even wrote it down. Now, by the way, today the president tweeted more text messages between former FBI employees Strzok and Page are a disaster and an embarrassment to the FBI and DOJ. This should never have happened. But we're learning more and more by the hour. Others were leaking like mad in order to get the president. We believe that to be the CIA, which we revealed last night. So the question is, Jeff Sessions, are you paying attention? Rod Rosenstein, where are you in this case? By the way, Bob Mueller, are you concerned Steele was funneling information into your office, information he himself didn't even stand by when he was involved in an interrogatory in a court of law in Great Britain? He said, I don't know if any of this is true. Is this acceptable behavior from the highest-ranking members of our government? It is not. Greg Jarrett, Sarah Carter will be here. They'll weigh in. That is Nancy Pelosi and company. Here now with reaction to the latest on deep state developments, the author of the New York Times bestseller, The Russian Hoax, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett, also investigative reporter and contributor Sarah Carter. Sarah, let's start with these new Strzok Page texts. If you look at it now, this is 4 days in a row. We revealed a lot. We've got the new developments today. Let's get into what you think is, I think now it's going to become a disaster for the FBI, for the Department of Justice, even the CIA. They were exposed yesterday, and the intelligence community in general.
Sean, this is more than just circumstantial evidence. I mean, every day we're getting more and more text messages. This is in their own writing. This isn't reports that people are writing about them. This is them telling each other, we are leaking information to the Washington Post. We've talked with the New York Times. This is about FISA warrants. This is the secret warrant that the FBI obtained to spy on an American citizen, Carter Page. These are serious, serious allegations right now. They need to be investigated by the Department of Justice. And the new information that has just been discovered by the Judicial Watch because of constant lawsuits and pushing for these documents is incredible. Because for a while I've been reporting on sources within the FBI and within law enforcement saying that they have been using these devices, their cell phones, sending emails by Yahoo, by Gmail account with sensitive information. There are spies in the United States, Sean. There are people, I speak to people in the intelligence community all the time, and they are trying to collect information. And what they look for is unsecured servers, unsecured emails, unsecured devices in order to collect that information. And what we see here is that it's actually happened.
All right, let's talk about with you, Greg Jarrett. I think it's been a disaster of a week for the FBI, the CIA, and the DOJ. So I guess the question now is, you know, what happens from here? Because we expect next week we might get those unredacted FISA warrants, 302s, the Gang of Eight information, the totality of Trump. I'm sorry, of Strzok and Page communications and McCabe. Now others, Baker and others are now getting back into the mix. And what about the FBI using unsecured devices with classified information? We start where we began, with Hillary.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the FBI ought to prosecute itself for doing the exact same thing that Hillary Clinton did, and that is putting sensitive information on an unsecured device that jeopardizes national security. But look at what has happened this week. Now we know for sure that not only was the Trump-Russia collusion case a hoax based on fabricated evidence, but Comey's FBI and Obama's Department of Justice were leaking this false information to a complicit media to frame Donald Trump. And these text messages prove it. They were gleeful, congratulating each other on leaking this false evidence to the media. One of the most important one is this one. The article is out, exclamation point. Well done, Page. That's a text from Peter Strzok. So, you know, here they are, basically in writing, admitting that what they're doing is a crime, a variety of different crimes.
All right, let's give Sarah the last word tonight, then we got to get back to, obviously, our hurricane coverage.
Yeah, certainly concerned about all the people in the hurricane's path, Sean. But I think this is it. We need someone to investigate this. We need the Department of Justice to do its job. This is going on too long, and by next week, I believe we'll have all the documents that have been promised. Those are the FISA documents, the Gang of Eight dossier, as well as Bruce Orr's 302 interviews.
The president needs to unredact and declassify.
Absolutely. The president absolutely should unredact and declassify these documents so that the country can move forward. And hopefully John Huber, who's been charged with this by Attorney General Jeff Sessions, is actually listening and doing his job, because that's his job, to investigate this. And that was what was promised by Jeff Sessions.
When we need him? We could use Spartacus, Cory Booker on this.
The John Huber investigation, I'm convinced, is nothing more than window dressing. It is not a legitimate investigation. It was all conjured by Rod Rosenstein to continue to obstruct and hide his own corrupt actions.
Well, let's make sure to hold them accountable. These things come out next week. Greg, Sarah, thank you. Fisher in Washington tonight, thank you for that report. Here now with reaction is former U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Joe DeGenova, also the author of a brand new book. It comes out, I believe, next week or the week after. Jesus is Risen, Paul and the Early Church. It's out, October the 2nd. Available pre-order on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and tomorrow, Hannity.com. Our friend David Limbaugh. By the way, both have done legal work for me because I'm in such legal trouble just about every other day of my life. Seems like I have every lawyer, but and I've had dinner with both of them. Let's start with you, Joe, and these developments. And I also want you to focus in a little bit on, we do know a grand jury is impaneled. We don't know what's going on there. We don't know what are in the unredacted pages, 10 to 12, 17 to 34. We don't know what's in the 302s. Everybody that I know that knows something or says they do say it's blockbuster.
Well, here's what we do know. We do know from the text revealed by Strzok and Page yesterday that we now are at a different place. The walls are closing in, but they're not closing in on the president. They're closing in on the FBI and the Department of Justice under President Obama. Those text messages by Strzok and Page, which reveal an illegal media strategy to illegally and criminally release FISA warrant information and name a U.S. citizen whose information they gave to the New York Times is a criminal offense. And by mentioning Carter Page, they have now created massive civil liability for everybody involved in revealing Carter Page's name, including themselves, James Baker, the former FBI general counsel, Prize Step, everybody in the chain of command. In addition, the reporters for the New York Times have no privileges now. They also can be sued by Carter Page because although they may have been legally able to accept information, by publishing it, they revealed classified information that smeared Carter Page. Mr. Page is going to be a very wealthy man.
I kind of agree with you, actually, by the end of all this. With the McCabe, we know that the grand jury has been seated. We know that they're looking at the lying issues involving McCabe. And
That's correct.
I have different sources that are telling me also they're looking into the FISA abuse issues.
They are.
And if
they are. The problem is we don't know whether it's Huber or the National Security Division at the Justice Department. The best information is that it is the National Security Division at the Justice Department.
But if
they are looking
true,
at.
Wouldn't that mean everybody that signed off on those FISA warrants, in other words, that committed fraud on the FISA courts, that omitted important information purposely?
And
they're all in trouble.
And that is why, and I mentioned this the other night, if you go back and look at Rod Rosenstein's testimony, he answered a question in a very strange way. He said, I am relieved that I have been relieved of responsibilities involving that area, that is FISA. The reason he has been relieved of those duties is that there is a criminal investigation, as you just mentioned, involving McCabe and Strzok and Baker, and nobody knows who is ultimately responsible for all of this.
What about Page and Comey?
Oh, there's no doubt. No, they're all involved. They're going down. You know, I know, and people don't like to hear this. James Comey, Strzok, McCabe, they're all going down on the FISA warrant stuff. That's just not even an open question anymore.
Let me get to David Limbaugh. David, I never thought in my life that, and with everything that we've been breaking, these new texts are a disaster. I mean, you literally have all this criminality, fixing an investigation, using Russia information, disseminating lies before and after the election, top DOJ, FBI, intelligence agencies, CIA, all to help elect one candidate over another, you know, literally propagating false Russian information, feeding it, trying to feed it and funnel it through Bruce Orr into Mueller's office. I can't believe this has happened with some of the people and agencies and institutions that I personally have grown up having the most respect for in my life.
Yeah. Yes. Is it any coincidence that Comey himself leaked on purpose to start a special counsel investigation? And now we have two of his top lieutenants who were leaking, who are deliberately leaking in a deliberate media leak strategy. They were flourishing in a Comey leak culture. And can you imagine how ludicrous this is, that the FBI was investigating these people in the supposedly in the periphery of the Trump campaign for alleged collusion with Russia to interfere with our election when they themselves were interfering with our election?
All right, Joe, I heard a little sinister laugh from Joe DeGeneva when you mentioned Comey. Why is that, Joe?
He's going down. The dirty cop is going to go down.
You haven't been wrong yet. All right, thank you both. When we come back.